It was actually from Mark who asked, I've read that there can be a dramatic period of transition when someone awakens, maybe even just experiences a glimpse or an indirect experience. Can you explain, if this is relevant to you, how you were able to continue daily responsibilities like work right after your awakening experience?
Is he asking me directly?
Well, I think very possibly you could take it directly,
Okay.
but also generically or
Sure.
generally that it is an experience. I actually made a video on this just 2 days ago about what happens. Sometimes it gets much more intense. Life seems to get almost worse somehow. So both those things, please.
When there's a sudden glimpse, whether it be a glimpse of no self or simply some structure of the self that believed itself to be a separate entity comes undone, and it happens perhaps suddenly. Very often that can be triggered by something, shock or beauty, or some process like an enlightenment intensive or meditation even. Then it can seem to discombobulate our lives, things that had meaning, whether they be relationships or everyday tasks or work. Something that we thought was important to us can no longer have that meaning, and that can be, like the ground beneath our feet is taken away. So what was solid is not solid. What was meaningful is not meaningful, and that can bring a period of meaninglessness or desolation or confusion or scrambling to make sense of things. That can happen for sure. That really is a glimpse of awakening, perhaps, a glimpse of a new paradigm, a new way of seeing, a new way of being. Awakening per se, awakening out of the dream of separate self per se, does not necessitate that. It doesn't cause that. It's not that has to be like that. It can be like that, certainly. If it is like that for you, then the invitation is to be very soft with the whole experience, to not come to a conclusion that your life is no longer meaningless, to not try and hold on to that glimpse that was seen, to allow everything to almost find its natural place again. You will inevitably go to sleep. You will inevitably eat. You will inevitably do what needs to be done to keep the human organism alive. It won't stop. Responsibilities that were responsibilities or obligations or duties from the conditioned separate self are likely not to have much juice in them anymore. If they are obligations that can simply be allowed to fall away, then let them fall away. And trust that what will inevitably reform itself as life will be in a more harmonious rhythm. If certain responsibilities need to continue, perhaps taking care of a child or whatever it might be, then do it with love. Do it with kindness. Continue. Whether you think it's meaningless or not, don't give any substance to that. Don't examine its meaning. Just let it be so. And life will take care of itself. Now, if you're speaking to me directly, my awakening was not sudden. I mean, it was sudden, sorry, but it wasn't a glimpse. I'd been on some path. I wouldn't call it any particular path. I wasn't following non-duality and I wasn't following Advaita. It was all of it. I was just an explorer of consciousness. I was interested in depth psychology. I was interested in what is the meaning of life? Who am I? So all of it was in the pot for me, and that's all I really did. I was never conventional and followed a job. Of course, there were certain life things that took place, relationships, taking care of myself, and so on and so on. But in that sense, it wasn't out of the ordinary. And it was gradual until it became sudden. I wasn't actually looking for awakening. I was looking for the end of suffering. The whole idea of awakening wasn't such a big thing as it is these days. Back in the early 80s, we didn't have the internet then, so the word wasn't being bandied around. Neither were these dialogues and, gatherings taking place. So I was really on a path of looking for the end of suffering within myself. And it became a path of surrender. I noticed that the more I tried to control life or fix myself, the more I suffered. So it really was a path of surrender to what is. And eventually and unexpectedly, it's as if various layers of the self that was trying to find itself in life or control life or plan life sort of fell away. And finally, unexpectedly, in a moment of inner darkness, desolateness, and a certain inner meaninglessness, it seemed as if the core structure of the victim, a victim of life, a victim of feeling, a victim of just being separate from life somehow on an existential level, completely fell away. I didn't label it as awakening, but I knew what freedom was, and it remained so ever since then. So it didn't shake my life. It didn't shake my mind. It just revealed something.
I think you had actually done a lot of work on what we could call, I don't want to get into this, but on the darkness within, or the shadow, or the places within you that cause pain, suffering.
Yes.
And I think you had done a lot of prior work. And so that when that natural movement and that natural awakening happened, then the light of realization, or the light of your awakening, actually didn't have much to then penetrate. It did actually have to penetrate your relationship with your mother and your renewed, what am I going to do, or how am I going to serve this or serve the world, which did take quite a lot of fallow period, and I was there during that fallow period, so I'm actually speaking the truth here. But I think that the different issue is that a lot of people actually haven't done, not that it's necessary, haven't done that work within themselves, in a sense. So when the light is realized, it actually hits the energy body, or the darkness within the energy body, and that's where it can cause some of what Mark was calling the dramatic stuff. Yeah?
Yes, that's right. Yes, not to go on about it, but I had done a lot of inner work because that's all what my life was. That's the only thing I was interested in. So whether it was psychology or therapy or body work or energy work or breath work, I'd done all of that. So there was a lot of purification, if you like, a lot of release that had already taken place. And yes, there was still some very tight. The relationship with my mother was a contraction. But if and it's not necessary, it doesn't cause awakening. Doing the inner work doesn't cause awakening. What it does is it clears the way so that when the open space of being or light or the end of the separate self is revealed, it's not a shock to the system. It's your natural state. There's nothing in the way of it. But if that work hasn't been done, and if there is something that needs to be done, if you like, it's as if that comes into the open space. It could be something that's been repressed from the past, a suppressed emotion, whether it's heartbreak or rage or abandonment, that will come into the field because everything yearns to come home. Everything yearns to come home to rest and dissolve and merge and be cleared in that open field. And that's what happens. And that's what feels sometimes difficult. I hope that speaks to you, Mark. I hope that's helpful.
I think it's helpful. Okay, thank you so much.